What's up, chat? Welcome back to the stream. It is Monday. We are indulging ourselves in some mayhem, and what a day of mayhem we have to talk about today, because today was, this doesn't pick up on the thing. Today was one of the craziest weekends for Warhammer 40k. At least since the data slate, for sure, because we've been having just endless numbers of holidays. Holy crap. Modern society, can you take a chill pill with the holidays, please? We don't need 3 in a row. It's okay. We can do 1, or maybe we just get rid of them all. That would also be fine. But we haven't had a big weekend where we've had lots and lots of results to talk about. We had some big team weekends last week, for example, but we haven't had a big weekend of singles events, and it's finally happened. We had 2 major level events go down in the US this week, plus a ton of little GTs and things go on elsewhere. So it is a lot of results to speak on. I wasn't even able to cover all of them in my best armies of 40k that came out this morning, but we did have some pretty sweet results, especially for factions like Tau, for example, who did incredibly well. So let's go. Let's talk about it.
Young 6,931 donated $5.
Thank you for the $5.
I cannot wait for the sites you will show us today. Do you think Auspex Scan BT is viable after playing against it?
Thank you for $5, Ryan. Appreciate that. I watched just for you. I watched 30 Days of Night the other day, or yesterday, actually, while I was editing Best Armies of 40k. We got it done. Do I think that Bastion, Bastion Task Force, Black Templars is good? It seems fine. It seems, I don't know if I necessarily want to say it's like the greatest thing ever, but it's definitely, I think it's like an interesting alternative to like regular ass Gladius Task Force Black Templars for sure. Basically the gimmick is if we hop over, if we look at it is Bastion Task Force. The gimmick is we played against it yesterday. It was a pretty sweet list. The detachment gives all your battle line units fallback, advance, and charge, which includes Black Templar Crusader squads. And so you basically just like fully combo out Crusader squads. You can also do the buffs for Repulsor Executioners. So you can like if you Auspex scan a target with one of the Crusader squads or like an Intercessor or something, then you can advance and shoot with your Repulsor Executioners, and like you push a bunch of Crusaders in the middle so they get Interception Strike and reroll their hits and stuff. It seemed very good. I think the matchup I was playing it too, I don't think I played it particularly well. I think there was a couple things that could have done better. And then also, I think it was a bad matchup for me in particular. However, I did like the concept. I do wonder if you are good at killing Black Templar Crusaders, you will probably be okay because it is mostly just like 50 guys running at you. But I think it's probably has some of the greatest support for that unit in particular out of any of the detachments, which is cool. It was nice to see. I don't know. I think that was sweet. So that was the game we streamed yesterday. The VOD's on Twitch right now, and I'll make it to YouTube at some point in the future. So I don't know. It was cool. Watch 30 Days of Night, time to play Blood Angels. Indeed. Those were like very Night Lords pilled, though, I think. They're like sending children out to like lure people out of their houses and stuff. It was extremely Night Lord style vampires. Very Night Haunter kind of pilled. All right, chat. So what we want to be talking about and focusing on today is going to be, I want to start by talking about the Texas Open. Actually, before we get too far into it.
6,931 donated $5 through Super Chat. And to think, you hesitated, they literally copy-pasted the axe scene from 30 Days of Night into Stranger Things Season 5 lol.
They did.
Okay, I'm done lol.
Yeah, that was, extremely incongruous for mild-mannered Winona Ryder to brutally axe murder someone in Stranger Things Season 5. What a time to be alive, chant, where we get to watch everyone's favorite suburban house bomb from the 80s turn into an axe murderer. Pretty weird. I want to start today by talking about a couple of lists that I did not get to talk about on the Best Service 40k this weekend, or this week. The first one is from Skövde Battleforge. So this is a smaller event. This is 42 players, but I do want to shout out this result. So it was basically a draw for first that came down to tiebreakers because they use differential scoring in a singles event, which always creates situations like this. It put Emil Soderholm in first place. Now, I didn't talk about his list. According to differential scoring, he was technically undefeated. However, he was
At Buckethoff, Steel Sybil donated 2 Canadian
Steel
dollars
Sybil?
and 79 cents through Super
That's not how
Chat.
you say that,
Did
TTS.
Necrons stomp the meta?
They did very good. I think, honestly, I think that there is a discussion we had about Ultramarines, like a very frank discussion I think we need to have about Ultramarines, which is like, how representative is the metagame right now as long as Ultramarines persist, right? As long as they keep getting like Wardens of Ultramar, new detachments, Victrix Honor Guard, all this stuff, because it keeps pumping them up, and they're already such a voluminous army that anytime they go a couple points above the curve, then immediately everyone's an Ultramarine player. And right now, I think it's really depressing any other faction that would be popular. Like, I said a bunch of times that Chaos Demons is a really strong spot right now. I think, obviously, Necrons are a really strong spot, and they did well. We had a good result for Tau this weekend. I'm curious to know if that's like a meta thing or if that was like very specific event results. Necrons did fine. They had the same number of event wins as Tau. And I think I saw the statistics somewhere. I haven't looked it up myself, but Necrons are like edging on a 60% win rate right now, as of the last like 2 weeks or so. But, I think if they weren't having to contend with Ultramarines, then they would be much higher. And the reality is that Ultramarines are just like very silly right now. And so, we're going to continue to bow to our blue armored gods for a little bit, a little while longer. And we'll see if that does end up changing, if we'll see if that makes a huge impact. I don't know. It's a whole deal. It's a whole deal. Is Chaos Demon similar to Haley's Heroes, bro? What a fucking callback. Holy shit. It unironically kind of is. It doesn't time walk you though, so that's good. It doesn't take 2 turns in a row. But it does have a bunch of individual characters that all have overlapping and synergistic buffs that play together well. So honestly, yes. A demonic adventuring party list, very similar to Haley's Heroes. That's an old Mark II War Machine list archetype, by the way. OG. Yes. So I want to talk about Deathwatch real quick because Emil here did win the event. However, he did it at X and 1. He lost his round 2, or his round 4, excuse me, his semifinal game. Johan Lindsten won it, but didn't get the 11-9 on differential by 1 VP. And so ended up in second place at the event, which is why we talked about him on the best armies, and we didn't talk about Deathwatch. But I think it's still fair to talk about Deathwatch, because first of all, look at these scores. Man got 2 20s, and then everything else was pretty high. His only worst result was a 10-10, which just happens in 10th edition 40k, so like, I don't know what to tell you. I think that I would be suspicious of someone who's just consistently 20-0ing their opponents. Or at least unless they just get really, really good matchups, I suppose. But it seems to me that between 13-7 and sort of 10-10 is going to be where most of your top responses end up being. Most Ultramarine players don't have new models yet. I think it's been long enough. That would surprise me, to be honest.
At Louise Dunford Gavira donated £5 through Super Chat. All these op factions that I could choose from.
The op factions.
Meanwhile, here I am trying to make Guardian Battle Hosts work.
Thank you for the super chat, Luis. Guardian Battle Host definitely has some strong plays. The problem that I think got introduced to a lot of those sort of off meta Eldar lists is that a lot of them relied very heavily on Storm Guardians and like Farseers, like Eldrad. And then as soon as they're like, oh, everyone's taking those things in too high volume, we're going to nerf Storm Guardians and like Warlock Conclaves and Eldred Altering. Like, Well, now you're just hitting the second tier stuff, so I don't know. We're going to talk about a Seer Council today, which is very similar sort of archetype, that did extremely well at Texas Open. And I think there's play with Guardian Battle Host. It definitely surprises people. I don't think it's like super dead, but it does fall apart to infantry supers for sure. 55 Helios, thank you for the membership as well. Welcome in. How's it going? Yes. So we want to talk about this Black Spear Task Force list. It's a grab his captain with Thief, so he can buff his attacks. So there was somebody who was telling me in the comment section previously of my video this morning, because I mentioned that Thief of Secrets is such a strong combo with the grab his captain. It anchors the game plan incredibly well. Not only does it make it so that you are disincentivized from engaging his unit, because the downside of a lot of these kill teams is that once they get engaged, they just kind of live there, which is why you play the Judiciary with the Beacon Angelus. You're trying to fight people off. The Gravis Captain has a pretty good chance. Like, if you just tag them with 5 Space Marines, there's a non-zero chance he just kills the entire unit by himself. Right? Between the Chainsword and the Fist, he's coming in with 8 total strength, 5 plus attacks. So he's good at clearing out little enemies, and he can do damage to bigger units. If you have aggressors in the unit as well, if you retain the aggressors against a charge, he and the aggressors may be able to pile them out of combat, or at least make your opponent think twice about like giving him the opportunity to attack. So it's nice. And then once he does that, he tunes up and his entire profile becomes damage 4. So once you get him in the late game, he's very difficult to kill because he has half damage. He punches in and has 8 4-damage attacks. He will very reliably kill like 12 wound vehicles all by himself. It's kind of wild. Once you see this guy go full power, once he Super Saiyans out. Somebody was saying that you cannot buff his attacks with Thief of Secrets, or you cannot buff his Chainsword attacks with Thief of Secrets because it's an extra attack weapon. You cannot buff explicitly the attacks characteristic of your extra attack weapons. Any other weapon, any other characteristic on their profile can still be improved. So the Chainsword goes base strength 5 AP 2 3 damage. Once he kills something, he goes strength 6 AP 3 4 damage. So that Chainsword actually starts hitting like an anti-tank weapon, which is pretty crazy. What you can't do, however, is give him like Honor Vehement and give him the Gauntlet for 7 attacks, the Chainsword for 5 attacks. That's not legal. You can only buff its strength damage characteristic. That's also why you see occasionally, and I think we talked about a list last week that had the same combo in it, with ancient weapons in Dark Angels, which is essentially a very similar upgrade, which on the Gravis Captain with the 2 weapons because of the exact same reason. So pretty nice. We have a Judiciary Beacon Angelus, so the enhancement to hop in and to Deep Strike or Rapid Ingress for free. A Combi Weapon Lieutenant, as well as a Watchmaster with Tome of the Ectoclades. So we get the additional oath once per game. We got a Deathwatch Veteran Squad for the Judiciary to hop into, 1 Intercessor Squad, a Fortis Kill Team times 3, so a lot of indirect fire. We're going to attach, most likely, the Watchmaster to one of these, so they're on the table shooting indirect fire. We're not putting him in a Rhino, and that allows him to freely use Tome of the Ectoclades without being in a transport. We have 2 Incursor Squads to get +1 to hit, 2 Indomitor Kill Teams, and Calidus Assassin. Good stuff, chat. So this event did actually technically go Exit 1, but it did win the event, so figured it was worth talking about. In any case, World Eaters friends are telling you the Destroyer Cult matchup is god-awful for the World Eaters player. I don't know why that is. I guess I don't know the matchup in particular. I think I'm playing against it later this week, though. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I'm excited. All right. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about was we had a X0-1 at Texas Open. So there are 2 really, really big events this weekend. There's Texas Open, there's USO Palm Springs. Both were 160 plus players, 170-ish players. This was 166. Palm Springs was, I think, 177. So closing in on that 200 player mark. At the very least, big, basically super major level events. And USL Palm Springs ran, I believe, 8 rounds. This one only ran 6, so we had multiple undefeateds, but we had extra rounds on the US Open one. That one also did the weird US Open cutoff thing where it cuts you off at if you didn't make top 16, which I guess is not quite as unreasonable in if you have 170 people rather than like 500 people, because there is a chance if you are cutting people to brackets like sort of early on in the tournament that you can cut X and O's, which sucks. And either way, it sucks because you lose the game and you're out of like contention for top 3 or so, which is like super shitty, but it is what it is. Okay, so I want to talk about Nick Carpenter's Aeldari list. It's too short. Can I fix that? I guess this is fine. He didn't put his detachment into his list, which is unfortunate. So we have a hard time seeing it. I wonder if we're gonna be able to see this thing kind of at all here. Oh, that's my 39K. Is this? Can we just see this? It's much too small, chat. Oh boy, folks. Well, I guess that is what it is. So, we are in Seer Council. We can tell because it has the. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Because it has the Lucid Eye enhancement on one of its warlocks, that gives it the ability to add or subtract the value of your fate dice in your command phase. So for those who don't know, if you don't have familiarity with the Seer Council detachment, it's pretty cool because it gives you a number of free stratagems based on a pool of dice you roll at the beginning of the game. So you roll 6d6s, and the corresponding facing on the d6s tells you which stratagem that dice can be spent to use for free. The cool thing about Lucid Eye is that basically 5 times per game you get to flip the facing on one of those dice by 1. You can add or subtract, and you don't have to use that die that round. And it's also not the totality you can change it to. So let's say you roll a bunch of 1s, and we would really prefer to have more Unshrouded Truth. So 1s gives you Forewarned, which is -1 to hit and wound for infantry, if I remember correctly. Remember it used to just be a full shooting activation? That's pretty cool. -1 to hit and wound for an infantry unit, so you can make your big Guardian bricks, for example. Very difficult to kill. But we feel that we don't need that many. However, we want Unshrouded Truth, which is a movement phase redeployment, which is incredible. We want more of those over the course of the game. We can every turn pick up a 1 and turn it into a 2. If we decided we did not want that Unshrouded Truth, we can the next turn pick up the 2 and turn it into a 3 if we wanted to. And the next turn turn that into a 4. So it gives you incredible control as long as the Warlock's on the table over your fate dice pool. So you're basically starting the game, assuming that you're going to play with 10 command points over the course of the game. You have Eldred Ulthran, who's going to give you another 5, and then you're basically always going to, depending on your dice pool, have the opportunity to flip those dice to whatever you want. So you're basically playing with like 21 command points over the course of the game, because you're essentially almost certainly going to burn through the entire fate dice pool over the course. So your command point economy is incredible. You just have all these like crazy abilities you can use. So what are we going to use them on, is the question. We are running Eldrad, Fuegan, Janezar, Malgan Ra, Farseer, double Warlock. So the Warlocks will give their attached unit, -1 to be wounded, as long as... that's Warlock Conclaves, which we didn't bring. We did bring. Yeah, we have Warlock Conclaves. The Warlocks give you -2 to be charged, and the Warlock Conclaves give you -1 to be wounded, as long as you have a Farseer in the unit. So usually what we're going to do is we're going to take our Warlock Conclaves, we're going to drop them into our squads of friends over here, our Defenders or Storm Guardians, and then we're going to grab Eldrad and the Farseer to drop them in there. So we have a permanent -1 to be wounded, plus a -2 to be charged. The Warlocks themselves hit pretty hard. They get up to +2 attack and strength characteristic for their destructors. So that ends up being strength 7, I believe. So it's D6 plus 2 flamer shots apiece with strength 7. And you get one from the regular Warlock. You also get one from each of the Warlock Conclave members. So on the 4-model Warlock Conclave, you're shooting 5 D6 plus 10 strength 7 shots that are automatically hitting out of each of those units. And don't forget, because we have access to Untreaded Truth, we can basically always place that unit into a position where we can access whatever we want to shoot at. So these bricks hit really hard. One of them is also delivering Eldrad, right? Who can give +1 to wound to the entire army if he's up and close and personal to something. So you're always going to be able to kind of unlock this benefit, put tons of OC and just this really annoying to kill infantry unit in the middle of the table and just absorb board space effectively. From there, we do have 10. Let's see. We have 10 Dark Reapers for Maugan Ra. We have 10 Fire Dragons for Fuegan. We don't have transports for these, but we do have Unshrouded Truth. So we can always pick these things up from the back of the table and drop them down wherever we need them to. Fuegan allows you to do so with some of your attacks in Melta range even. You do have to be 9 inches away from enemies, but the guns that he puts up to range 12, he doesn't have his war gear on here at all. This is not a very well constructed list. As a PSA chat, do not submit this short list export from New Recruit into a BCP. This is like useless to your opponent. I assume we're taking a fire pike on the Fire Dragons, but I don't know that. I assume we have like power swords of the Storm Guardians, but maybe we don't. It's kind of not the best. Anyway, do the full export with all the war gear and stuff. So that you get 2 of the range 12 Belta shots between Fuegan himself plus the Fire Dragon, the Fire Dragon Exarch. So that unit can absolutely dumpster people. You can also do weird stuff where you can get weird lines of sight with the Dark Reapers to clear out screening units early, where they just hop around the sides of the table. And then we can also just like run Howling Banshees in. I don't think there's like any, if I remember correctly, there's not like a huge combo with the Dire Ventures. They're just a good fast unit. So it's just nice to have a unit. Like if you're not teleporting anything else, you can just teleport them to stage them, so you don't have to run with them or anything. They just walk up and do stuff, and then you can like put them in a ruin and then threaten your opponent's home objective next turn, for example. But there's not like I don't believe anyway that there's too much else we do with them besides just to be a big cool unit. The 10 model unit lets you combat slingshot the Exarch and Janezar pretty well, which I assume as an executioner, but I don't know. And then we have 3 Warlock Skyrunners. So we have Warwalkers who can buff the Dire Creepers or the Fire Dragons with extra AP. And then the Warlock Skyrunners are important because basically all of the strats require that you have a Psyker nearby. So most of the time, you're kind of playing around like the battleship of these Guardian units. Like either they're on the home objective or they've Unshrouded Truth forward, and you're going to get most of these stratagems anyway. But in the cases where you need it, you have Warlock Skyrunners in the backline who can do that. Warlock Skyrunners are also just incredible utility. They're a single entity unit for super cheap who can run around and do actions and stuff for 45 points. Also, weirdly, not a character, so they don't give up assassination either. So they can actually like go run up and do actions like sort of with impunity, which is pretty sweet. Can Guardians take Meltas? The Storm Guardians can. I don't think the Guardian Defenders can take a Bright Lance platform, which I assume is what they have. But who knows? I believe they can just take a Bright Lance platform. They don't have any special weapons themselves. It's the Storm Guardians that have like, I believe the Storm Guardian unit's actually kind of ballers. I believe if I remember correctly, it is 2 Flamers and 2 Meltas in that unit. Up to 2 can have a fusion gun. Up to 2 can have a power sword. Up to 2 can have a Flamer. Yeah. So you get 2. I think it's an AP2, strength 4 AP2 melee weapon. It's weird that they don't have that many attacks, though, to be clear. So I feel like they should have more attacks, but I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. And then you get 2 each of the special weapon, and that's not contingent on unit size or anything. Plus, they have a 5+ invulnerable save on the entire unit, which can stack pretty well with the Forewarned and the -1 to wound from the Warlock Conclave as well. So pretty nice, chat. It's sweet. I don't know. I think this list is cool as fuck. The thing to consider is that you can unshredded truth top of 1. And it's like super hard to stop because you do it in your movement phase. So you do all your command phase stuff first, right? Your secondaries are done. You know what you have to do. And your opponent has to forward screen really hard to prevent you from just hitting them turn 1 with like Dark Reapers or something. And if they don't, even if they do, let's say like, oh, I don't want to lose my tanks immediately to Fuegan. So I'm going to forward screen with all my forward operators. First of all, you might get screened out by Rangers because there's 2 units of Rangers here. Secondly, if you do, they just unshredded truth probably for free. A Dark Reaper squad, get a little bit of line of sight, 10 Dark Reapers plus Malgan Ra, super duper kill your 5 Space Marine Scouts or whatever. And they don't have to do shit, right? They don't have to expose anything to do that for the most part. You then have to put up a second unit. They just keep doing it again. They sandpaper you until the point where they can just alpha and just hit you super hard. There's also some builds of this list that either put some of this stuff in strategic reserve and then hop it off the table edge, or they play striking or swooping hawks as well. And then turn 2, they can bring in like multiple swooping hawk units plus the unshredded truth unit, and they basically just put like 30 or 40 aspect warriors in your front line and be like, "What do you do?" And the answer is probably die. So if you are susceptible to that kind of alpha strike, this list is fucking terrifying. It's so scary. Because they just have an answer for everything. Heavy infantry, we got Dark Reapers. Tanks, we got Fire Dragons. Light infantry, we got Guardian Defenders or Storm Guardians. It's just good. It's just good stuff. It's good, unclean fun, chant. You kind of love to see it. I don't know, you might hate it. It's pretty crazy. Is there a VOD of this list? I don't believe so. I don't think there was any streaming for the Texas Open, unfortunately, which is sad because there were lots of cool lists. I saw a lot of people asking for VODs from this event. If I'm wrong about that and somebody did stream it, let me know. But I looked it up on YouTube. I couldn't find anything. It might have been on Twitch, but I was live on Sunday. I didn't see anything live, so I have no idea. Didn't have a stream at Texas Open. That's too bad. I'm here. I'm right here. I'm just saying, you know. Could have made. I'm not the first time I made the trip out to Texas. It is a long way though. We also had some cool results from. So the top 2 were Space Marines. It was Dark Angels, which I talked about on my regular show, and Ultramarines, which is boring. Yawn. However, we did see some good results from very cool lists. For example, I was gonna say multiple people went X1 with Fellhammer Siege Host, but it is in fact only Dutes. And BCP is doing a weird thing where it gave him both his silly nickname and also his real name. So we'll just talk about his real name because his silly nickname is embarrassing. So Dutes over here, if you are a fan of the channel or in the TTS community, you almost certainly recognize Mr. Dutes from the Black Crusade Online series. Rockin' Fellhammer Siege Host. I want to say, I'm sure I'll get an earful if this is not correct, but I want to say that he took a lot of leaves out of Sinkane's book, who is like the Fellhammer Siege Host extraordinaire and has like 500 games with exclusively Fellhammer Siege Host, and is playing a very similar list, which it turns out is really good. So here we go. We've definitely talked about this list before, and I've streamed it and against it with multiple players playing it multiple times. But let's talk about exactly what it does. So we have Fabius Bile, who has a damage blank because of his little acolyte friend, and then he can also apply a wound. Oh, so first of all, let's start at the top. Let's talk about Fellhammer Siege Host, because you might not have seen this detachment in person because like nobody besides these 2 people play it. You get a transhuman effect if your strength, if a straight incoming strength characteristic of a ranged attack only, doesn't work on melee, is greater than the toughness characteristic of your unit, it gets -1 to wound. So the idea is that we can apply this effect to basically a ton of toughness 5 heavy infantry. So any heavy infantry, like dedicated heavy infantry sweepings, like plasma cannons and all that stuff, starts to wound them on 4s. So already we've applied 1 layer of defensive technology against this kind of attack. In addition to that, they also have, I can't remember the name of the stratagem, Steadfast Determination. They have a 5+ fail no pain for 1 CP against shooting attacks only. This is extremely anti-shooting. All this entire detachment wants to do is not be shot at. So we can now apply 2 layers of defense to a toughness 5. So usually, especially if it's Fabius Bile's unit, we're starting at toughness 4. Fabius Bile plus a toughness 5 boost, right, through Enhanced Warriors. He then also makes them -1 to be wounded against high strength ranged attacks. And then also, you can get 5+ feel no pain. And then, once we talk about the list itself, Fabius has a damage blank, and you can assign at least 1 save, maybe more, to his Surgeon Acolyte. So, he basically has once per turn damage blank plus a once per game damage blank. So, Fabius's unit is -1 to be wounded, plus 1 toughness, 2 damage blanks, and 2 damage blanks, and a 5+ feel no pain, if you end up going into that. In addition, we also have Abaddon the Despoiler. Abaddon can give any one of these units a 4+ invulnerable save. So that's like a 4th layer of defensive technology. So you look at what is normally a Fabius Bile, called the Chosen unit. There's 10 Chosen in here to hang out with him. You look at this unit and you're like, all right, I get it. T5, 3 wounds. It's a heavy infantry squad. We're going to blank a little bit of damage with Bile. No. You're going to shoot them with your whole army, and you're going to kill like 4. And they're going to pull the guys that don't have melee weapons. And then, or don't have like, twin link melee weapons or whatever. And then they're going to advance and charge, and they're going to punch you directly in the face. At the same time, you're also dealing with Abaddon himself, who can be behind these guys, providing them their invulnerable save. He usually attaches to an additional unit of 5 chosen, so he can also advance and charge. So he's threatening at the same time. And then, in addition, that same time, you also drop a Chaos Terminator Lord for free with Rapid Ingress, with his own command point discount, with the Bastion Plate. The Bastion Plate gives him an additional once per turn damage blank. So we're basically doing essentially the same combo on also this Terminator squad. They have better save characteristics than the Chosen do, baseline. That means they don't need proximity to Abaddon, which is good. But they're also 3 wounds, 4+ invulnerable save, -1 to be wounded. You can give them a 5+ feel no pain, and then they also have the damage blank. So these 2 units are defensively almost identical, not quite, but very close. You have to fight through these 2, then also Abaddon's Chosen unit, right? And a lot of times it's tough to kill 15 wounds plus do appreciable damage to Abaddon to stop him from just murdering you. Plus, there's also a Forge Fiend for some turn 1 shooting, with Vashtor the Archifane. So you're also threatening with Vashtor at the same time, who's lone operative. So this army basically puts these 4 absolutely lethal units. Any one of them will kill one of whatever. And essentially tells you straight up, you cannot kill these. And then it charges you. It sets up turn 1, and then it puts its entire army in front of its opponent's face, and then it charges them. And there's very, very little... there's very few armies that can, with ranged attacks, adequately deal with all of his units. In fact, basically none of them can. You have to also be able to fight them in melee, because a lot of their abilities turn off in melee. Have they are doing a lot of damage to you in melee, and they also have brutal attrition, which reflects mortal wounds to you in melee. So if they ever engage multiple units, and then they swing at you, they kill a bunch of shit, you swing at them, they pop 1 CP, and all of your units are required to fight them by law. Suddenly, if they take any damage, they just reflect that back to your units and continuously do damage. So they just eat a ton of damage in melee, but also reflect a ton of that damage as well. So they usually will just, in very Iron Warriors fashion, they'll just attrition you out into oblivion in melee too. This list is very good. And only a few people play it, but it is unironically very strong. And it's cool to see. I don't know. I think it's, I don't know if it would be controversial to say I think it's the strongest, Chaos Space Marine list. I guess it's like fighting with Renegade Raiders probably, with like a more attrition-y Renegade Raiders list, but I don't know. I think it's good. It do be good, chat. It's worth the trip out for the gun show from Other Joe. Yeah. To go to Texas, for sure. So that's always nice to see. However, that's not the only absolutely unhinged result we saw from the Texas Open. There's like something in the water over there in Texas where they just play weird, silly lists. Because we have our friend over here from hopefully Huron's book gives updated attachments. Yeah, that would be shocking to me if they didn't give more detachments with the new Maelstrom stuff. We have Robert Moreland over here who is running Ye Old Grizzly Company with some interesting selections, chat. Let's discuss momentarily what those are. So we have Acadian Command Squad, Gaunt's Ghost, Lord Solar Leontis. Lord Solar Leontis is important because he gets an extra order. We do have Acadian Command Squad, so we can apply a Master Box to him if we dual attach with the Acadian Shock Trooper unit. But he also was updated. I don't want to say recently, but in the not too distant past, to be able to issue orders to Titanic units as well as Regiment and Squadron. You know where this is going. So we have a bunch of Attilan Rough Riders. These are excellent for screening. They're good for melee counterpunch. They're good for utility because you can get them up to movement 15 with move, move, move. And it's not like you're going to run out of orders because this unit alone is going to put out 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 orders. Thanks to at 24 inches, thanks to the Grizzly Company detachment because each of those officers gets +1 order characteristic. We have a Cyclops demolition vehicle. I guess just for utility stuff. Are those not legends? Did they not get legended? That's so interesting. I guess I assumed that they did, but I think that's just because they stopped being able to do actions because of OC0, so everyone just dropped them. But they're 25 points for a single entity, which is actually kind of sweet. The downside is you have to bring them off of a table edge if you want to reserve them, but it's not that bad. It's not the end of the world. They just hop in and they're like, I engaged all friends. Woo! Let's go. I do believe that they are vehicle keyworded, though. Oh, this is a little bit off my viewer, unfortunately. Which means that there it is. Which means that they give up Bring It Down on a T4 wound body. Truly incredible. We've got some Krieg combat engineers, so we have some early game push from a little bit of scouting units. So we have long onboard movement plus scouts that can do lots of utility. We have some Leman Russ Vanquishers. So just really, really efficient Leman Russ chassis. Your 2+ safety 11. You can stack that with Armor of Contempt and you're only 145 points. Plus you're packing 4 multi-melta shots, a Hunter Killer, and a Vanquisher Battle Cannon shot. What's not to love, chat, for this low points cost? No downside. We're bringing 2 Rogaldorn battle tanks as well. Important to note, we don't have any tank commanders. We are relying entirely on Lord Solar Leontis to apply orders to these things to give them the rerolls and the bonuses. So we're running 4 total battle tanks between the Leman Russes and the Rogaldorns, and then a Shadow Sword. Or a Stormsword, excuse me, a Stormsword. So it's 5 battle tanks, 2 heavy tanks in the Rogaldorns, plus 2 Leman Russ Vanquishers. In the total breadth of 2+ save wounds we have what? The Rogaldorns are 36. They're 18 apiece. What's this Stormsword? 26 or something? A Stormsword comes in at 24. So that's 60 plus 2 Leman Russ Vanquishers, which are 13 apiece. So that's another 26. So 86 toughness, 11 to between 11 and 13, 2+ save wounds that have access to Armor of Contempt. Be still my beating heart. And then because Lord Solar Leontis can order this guy, we can give him reroll once to hit and wound and make him hit on 3s with take aim. So he actually isn't the least accurate piece of shit in the world, which is kind of sick. So this is the Ignore Cover Siege Cannon profile, D6 plus 2 damage apiece. Most of these feel kind of superfluous. It's like, if I hit you, you're gonna die. It seems like what we're normally doing. I don't know if there's any explicit synergy inside Grizzly Company besides the rerolls. I guess we could. Well, it already has Ignore Cover, so we don't really need to give it Ignore Cover. But that is very good for the Rogaldorns. I think we're mostly just providing us the -1 AP. Yeah. I think we're mostly just providing the -1 AP. And I guess, like, too, there's, like, some weird situations where Lord Solar can reactively issue an order, potentially. Although it's not like we're doing defensive orders on the Stormsword, so I think that's okay. But it is just a trillion attacks. So it's 5 twin-linked heavy bolters, so 15 2-damage heavy bolter shots, 4 las cannon shots, and then D6 plus 6 siege cannon shots. All of them will likely hit on 3s, re-rolling 1s, wound on like 2s or whatever, re-rolling 1s as well. So high efficiency shooting. And the real question of the day, and I guess the other thing that we could do too, is we could pay a CP. If we save Lord Solar's orders, we can pay a CP we can give the Stormsword movement 15 so we can get it around terrain, and then pay a CP start of movement phase to apply take aim to it. I think that's probably the other thing that we do, so it actually can maneuver around terrain features. Because the downside of these guys is that they do not have towering, which always gets me. I see a lot of people also get confused by this. The Titanic keyword doesn't do anything. It just makes you big. The towering keyword is what gives you the ability to see around terrain features that you're touching, as long as you have true line of sight. And the Stormsword doesn't do that. So it has to actually physically peek part of its model over the other side of the terrain feature, which can be very difficult on some terrain layouts. However, if you know the terrain layout's going in or you are movement 15, you're probably going to be able to find a way to make this happen.
Dan Dive DM donated $10
Dan Dive, what
chat.
is the TTS
So
up
how
today?
about them genestealers, eh?
Oh my god, chat. Oh my god. You're giving me PTSD. I got the eye twitch. Yeah, I played a game. We played an amazing game this weekend with John Work and who was playing Tyranids, and I'm gonna pull up I took a picture of the game. So I'm gonna pull up a picture real quick. Can I do it? Will it work? Here we go. And I had my big, cool Salamanders Land Raider sitting here for the entire game. Because if it moved, it would be killed by Tyrannofexes. But if anything else moved into this area, it would be killed by a Land Raider. So we had a great standoff until this genestealer unit decided to cross the board, hit its 6-inch charge, and one-shot the Land Raider from full. The Broodlord rocked up and just rolled 4 6s out of his 5 attacks to do 8 mortal wounds. I was like, well, I guess that's one way to lose a game of 40k right there is we just get slapped. Absolutely slapped by a genestealer unit and lose a Land Raider randomly. Unfortunate. I think I lost the game by 3 points. Although in hindsight, I was like thinking about this on my way home. What I should have just done, I was holding. I think we talked about this on stream very briefly yesterday too. I'm a little burned out on Salamanders. I think, no pun intended. So I'm probably gonna go back to demons or something for a little bit here. But what I should have done is I had Vulcan the Land Raider, and I should have just popped him out on probably this back objective and just OC 10'd it. And then like I put 16 OC there on like round 3. And there's basically no way I lose it for the next 2 rounds of the game. And then I think that edges it over the edge to me because I don't think anything can kill Vulcan here. What I was expecting to have happen was because it was subterranean assault, have stuff teleport to the corners and shoot the Land Raider, so I could reactively disembark Vulcan onto one of the objectives that was being contested in order to out OC on it. But that never happened, and I ended up just losing this for an extra turn that I didn't need to. So I should have just ate it and just put Vulcan in the back here, and not even tried to do like the mortal wound combo and reroll flamer thing because it wasn't going to be relevant. And I think it would have won the game. But in any case, it was a fun game until that happened. And then also, this Horospex and a Maleceptor perfectly killed literally everything to take this objective too. It was just like, oh no, which was very unfortunate. But if that had not happened, it would have been okay. But it was a close game. It has given me, I guess, a deep-seated instinctual fear of genestealers, though, that I don't know if I'll ever get over. A move 8 not advanced to charge unit. With strength 5 melee attacks that kills Land Raiders, apparently. Has absolutely got me. But yeah, the Stormsword list is cool, chat. This list is incredibly cool, and it's cool to see Stormswords do well. Robert Moreland here went 5-1 with some pretty big scores. He got 190 in the midboards. He did lose 1 game, but just having a good breadth of utility over the course, and then like backing it up with just this one big thing that can kill literally the universe. It is incredibly hard to kill. Seems incredibly strong. I don't know, chat. I don't know what else to say about that. I feel like maybe we found the way to play Super Heavy's in Astra Militarum. Pretty cool. Is it 2 inches for pivoting Titanic units? It is, yeah. Indeed. Play birds? I don't want to play birds, though. Birds is like, everyone plays birds. And I don't want to play the same thing everyone else plays. So I'll just keep playing 7 Gritter Demons or whatever and call it a day. All right, Chance. We have some other things to discuss. There was, in fact, also X1 here. Well, list I haven't reviewed yet, so I'm excited to talk about it. Cliff Russell, who always comes up with the zaniest bullshit, played Dread Mob, which is always interesting. I'm excited to see where this goes. This might be a roller coaster ride of a list, though. So Dread Mob is, for those who don't know, it gives your mech units as well as your walkers and grots vehicles the ability to hit a button to get a random effect or apply hazardous to choose an effect. Those effects being sustained hits, lethal hits, critical armor penetration characteristic bump. So we can basically improve our hits, improve our wounds, or improve our AP randomly every time we shoot one of these units. There are also a bunch of ways to force you to get extra levels of hazardous, which makes your hazardous checks work worse and worse and worse as you go. So we're bringing 2 regular Big Mechs, custom Mega Blaster Big Mechs. The important thing too is that anytime we attach a mech to a unit, that also applies the effect to the entire unit. It is mech units, not mech models. It's a little hidden by my overlay here, but it is mech units. So as long as a mech is inside the unit, he can apply this effect to your melee attacks too. So you can put Big Mechs that are like 20 boys and then give the boys lethal hits, for example, from the Big Mech, which is pretty sick. So we've got 3 shock attack gun Big Mechs. One has a Get Finder goggles, which is ignore cover, I believe. Pretty good if you put them in Ludas, because the Ludas are only AP1. We've got a mech, Zodgrod, Wartsnaga. That's actually classic for this list because you have Conniving Runts, which is a reactive move for Gretchen that also deals damage to people. The thing as well is that in most Dread Mob builds, you don't need, if you're playing ranged focused Dread Mob, you don't need early game Wog for your melee attacks, so you can Wog just to push the Gretchen. So these guys get a 9-inch scout from Zodgrod, and then if you can like turn 1 Wog to give them a 5+ invulnerable save, plus 6 inches of movement and advance and charge, and you can literally just hit the opponent's deployment zone top of the first turn if they aren't screening your scout move, or even if they are, you might be fast enough that you just get there. They move 12 with advance and charge. They're just like little blood angels at this point. And they can just basically wrap and jail your opponent's army, and that lets all your guns get into position. So you don't if you're not playing melee units, which it doesn't look like we are. Yeah, we're all guns all the time over here. Then we can just Wog in only for Zodgrod. We then have looks like 2 units of Flash Gits. I'm interested. I assume the mech can join the Flash Gits. No. So the Flash Gits are probably just vibing, I imagine. But these guys can join Tank Bustas, which is important. So, or I don't know if there's anywhere else we want to put them. Or just Ludas to give them the keyword. Because we can also put the shock attack guns into the tank buster squads. But the interesting thing about a lot of these lists is that the shock attack guns are where a lot of your damage output, the shock attack guns and the tank bustas. And depending on the matchup, because we're running 3 Luda squads and 3 tank buster squads, at any we can actually be very flexible about where we put our leader. Because you're able to join either one. I think the tank busters have a leadership clause for anything that can join a Luda unit can join tank bustas. So we're eligible for the shock attack on Big Mech because he has Ludas on his data sheet that he can go into tank buster squads. A little confusing here from 39k, but it is what it is. That's par for the course. But But a lot of the damage comes out of this guy, and so he's not only attaching to a unit to apply the press the button buff to them, but also he can get the benefit of whatever the unit's ability is. So if you need him to clip tanks out, tank busts hit +1 to hit and wound against tanks, so he goes to hit from hitting on 5s to hitting on 4s. You give him sustained hits if you press the button, for example, and then he's +1 to wound, so he's wounding basically every tank in the game on 4s with a pretty high volume, high AP, pretty solid damage attack. Plus all the tank buster squads are shooting. You can also improve them with the pulsar rocket once per game as well from them too. With the I think it's bonus strength and AP, right? Once per game with the pulsar, that is strength and AP characteristic. So he goes to strength 10, AP 5. That seems pretty good. But the alternative is that you could just put him in a looter unit and then he gets hit rerolls. So you can give him like sustained or lethal hits. Let's say you need to clear heavy infantry. Suddenly you can give this guy sustained hits and you can be shooting AP 4 shots into heavy infantry squads. If you don't necessarily need the with hit rerolls so that they're more consistent. So if you don't necessarily need the damage output from the tank buses. And then we have just the regular mechs that can hop into the other units to apply the buffs to a lesser extent to them as well. And unlock a lot of your stratagems and stuff. Seems pretty cool, chat. It's actually been a while since we see a list like this, but it's pretty sweet. It's pretty sweet. Miss the Grot tanks, dude. Absolutely. Do you remember when was it this detachment or was it Mordaka that came out? And I remember very like apocryphally Art of War, like commissioned like 18 Grot tanks immediately. They were like, all right, Grot tanks are gonna be meta, we're gonna play them. And like the next day they were legended. Do you remember that? That was incredible. I don't know. It makes me laugh. Gone but Grot forgotten. Very good, chat. That's very good. All right. So, all right, let's see. Moving on from there, we'll see if we have any cool stuff happening at this X and 1 category for this list. Now, what I haven't quite seen, there's some Necron Pantheon of Woe. I guess it's probably important to talk about that because I think it's going to be very metagame relevant. First of all, let's talk real quick about it's going to be Tyler Prothero over here. Look at these scores, chat. Man didn't drop below 90 until round 4. That's pretty good. He was playing Pantheon of Woe, so the +1 AP aura for the Catan shards for the monsters, and then you have to pay extra points for them, but they get a special ability. Void Dragon gets a -1 to hit thing for vehicles. Nightbringer gets to advance and charge. Deceiver gets to command point tax, which is like actually kind of amazing. We have Imitech the Stormlord, so we can gain command points ourselves, and then we have a Psychomancer to do battle strike people. We're making a lot of use of that +1 AP from Doomsday Arcs, so we can push them to AP 5 to shoot through 2+ armor saves pretty consistently. We have a Flayed 1 unit, 3 Locust Destroyer units for utility, Ophidian Destroyers for up-down, Locust Heavy Destroyer with a Destructor for a little anti-tank shot, and then we have early game push from a Triarch Stalker. So we can get +1 AP and ignore cover on that guy. So this feels like very much the Catan shard gate, like show, I guess. It's basically an infinite number of utility units, right? 4 individual Locust Destroyers, plus a Flayed 1 unit, plus an Ophidian unit, plus a Triarch Stalker, which is a scout. So it's it's basically just a huge forward operator. And then the rest of the list is just like 2 Doomsday Arcs and 3 Catan shards. And that's where the only damage output comes from, and everything else is just scoring points. We're just spreading the board with little individual units of Locust Destroyers everywhere. And actually just like hunkering down the middle of the table with the Catan shards. Definitely goes to show you, I think you can get a lot of work out of these guys with their new profiles, just assuming that we're just going to basically put the whole game on their backs, on their big, broad necrodermis shoulders, and see how things go. All right. Is there anything else? I guess Adeptus Custodes we could talk about. They're kind of on the mind right now. It's a Solar Spearhead. We watched a little bit of Solar Spearhead action at TEO last week because We watched it do pretty well into a couple of different builds. I think people are still surprised by Solar Spearhead, just as how annoying to kill it is. And in the cases where, obviously, I think it's going to change quite a bit here because like Catan shards are going to be meta, and so people are going to be working around -1 damage, and so the Telamon Heavy Dreadnoughts just being like enormous Redemptors is probably I don't know. It's probably not quite as survivable as normally you would expect. Because I think people are going to be ready for that exact profile. But up until then, when people have been like focusing very heavily on these like high volume, low, like mid to low damage attacks. So you can think about like, these Imperial Guard tanks are shooting like 1 million, like 3 damage shots. That gets cut by a third. Victrix Honor Guard or similar units that swing 1 million 2 damage attacks, that gets cut in half. That kind of stuff does get blanked quite a bit by the Telamon Dreadnought. People are ready for it now. But being able to just rocket these guys through a wall and halfway across the table and just engage your opponent's whole front line, I think is surprising. Plus the fact that they come with 1 million, especially the Adamantine Talisman guy. It's unfortunately hard to tell because of the list output for this detachment, because it basically creates a separate entry for the different things. It's hard to tell exactly how many of the Dreadnoughts are. It looks like there's a Telamon Dreadnought with no upgrades. Then there's a Telamon Dreadnought with Augury uplink, which are separate. So there's 2 Telamons, and then the Adamantine Talisman is a Contemptor Achilles. And the Adamantine Talisman is, if I remember correctly, it's extra strength and attacks. Strength attacks and a damage characteristic of the melee weapons by 1 for that character. So sometimes you see it on the infantry characters, but it goes really far on the Contemptor Achilles. That pushes the Achilles up to 6. Strength 13 at D6 plus 2. AP 2, though. Man. early for like 10th edition weapon profiles are such a fucking trip, Chad. There's like a 200-point unit, and its only role is to stab people. And they're like, you know what? AP2 on your melee attack. Fuck you. Whoever wrote that. Come on, dude. You're going to hit like a Redemptor and they'll just be like, I'll AOC and save on 3s. Like 1 goes through maybe. They'll take like 4 damage from it. That's stupid. It's very dumb. I unironically did not realize that they were AP2. These guys do impact mortal for a bunch of damage though. So like, I don't know. In some cases you can clap them for a bunch, but that is interesting. But the thing too is like, now that we're looking at these heavy infantry squads, coming in at 3 wounds, right? Victrix Honor Guard come in at 3 wounds. Telamon Heavy Dreadnought's going to kick the shit out of a bunch of those guys, right? With just 1 million. If it has 2 fists, it's 7 3 damage melee attacks, I think. We're running Venatari Custodians, triple Venerable Contemptor, just to hold down the board, because they can respawn when you kill them, and they hop back up, and then they hold the objective. 2 Witch Seeker units, 1 Calidus Assassin, a Prosecutor Squad for utility, 2 Caladius Grav Tanks. The only real synergy here is that the Caladius Grav Tanks, I think we can advance and shoot them. Caladius. We can advance and shoot them, and we can move through walls with them. I don't know why I looked that up. It's a stratagem. So yeah, any vehicle can go through walls, and then Relentless Persecution is that any vehicle unit can advance, shoot, and charge. So while we don't get, we do get the rerolls as well, the detachment ability as well, but we don't get the additional movement characteristics. But it does make them pretty good. Very nice, chat. You love to see it. This attachment, I think, underrated still. I do see, because you can also use Unstoppable on mounted units, I have seen some lists that focus like on bikers. So they run like the double Telamon Heavy Dreadnought, and then they basically just like clear a bunch of this stuff out to run like 1 Caladius Grav Tank and 2 to 3 biker units. And they use Don Eagle jet bikes to really harass the flanks while the Telamons engage you through the front. And a lot of times it just threat overloads you at that point. But this is very similar. It's just going to have more shooting involved in it, which seems good. The -1 to wound is also nice. Oh, yeah, that's true, I guess. Yeah, I guess I was... I think I was thinking of Lines of the Emperor, where it's like, there's like one little thing you do with the Caladius, but they don't get the detachment ability. Solar Spearhead is actually just really good for them. I don't know. I don't know what I was talking about. I was definitely thinking of something else. Where the Caladius, like, you still take them because the data sheet's good, but they're definitely strong. The downside is like the +2 OC from being full health is like, all right, that's not that exciting. But as soon as we get hurt and we start rerolling our ones to hit, oh boy. You never want to see the Arachnus Blaze Cannon, the lethal hit Twin Lengths gun that rerolls its hit rolls too. Suddenly, the only time where it could spike low is gone. So, if you damage the Caladius, you gotta fucking kill those pieces of shit, because otherwise, they're gonna hit you so hard back. It's crazy. Pretty sweet. Good stuff, chance. All right. Is there anything else that we want to take a peek at? Obviously, these events were large enough that we had a bunch of stuff undefeated. So if there is a particular list that or a particular faction we want to dive into, those are all of the really sort of wild ones that I had picked out. But otherwise, we could peek through some other ones. We also had the Palm Springs Open, which had a little bit more of like a meta showcase at the top end, I guess. That there is some interesting Grey Knights action going on at the top 16, but a lot of it's like sort of relatively standard stuff. So I don't know. Rerolling ones for Custodes was a Stardy's call Oath of Moment. But it's real ones without selecting a target. You can do it all the time. Do it anywhere. Any Cursed Legion? I don't know any particular... I don't know specific detachments. It's hard to see. Good Space Wolves? Not that I noticed. At least out of majors. We have like... Some people had X and 2, but nobody went X1. Oh, Forest Phantom went 6-2 at Palm Springs Open with Space Wolves. So that's not too bad. Running Stormlands Task Force with Arjak, Bjorners, Old Bjorn, Logan Grimnar, and a Wolf Priest. Intercessor Squad for the backline. 15 Fenrisian Wolves. These guys are honestly actually kind of sick. The interesting thing is that, like, Bjorn can project the OC aura for them.
At Lowell Chaos 13 donated $5 through Super Chat. Any chance for an upcoming Getting Started Nightmare Hunt video in the future? Eyes emoji.
I don't know about Nightmare Hunt specifically. I don't usually like focus on one specific detachment for the Getting Started. I did for the Space Marine ones because a lot of the Space Marine chapters have one bespoke detachment, so I just focused on that. But if I do end up doing testing with Nightmare Hunt, and I was like playing around with a couple of list builds in my list builder the other day, then it will I'll probably do like a Patreon list tech for it, where I go through a rough strategy guide for a Nightmare Hunt list. But I don't think there's if I do cast Space Marines, it will probably be like a Renegade Raiders. I think I think probably the best like new player detachment, or one of the better new player detachments, because that one's relatively straightforward. Yeah, so I think that would probably be what it was. But there is a non-zero chance that I do some playtesting with Nightmare Hunt in the not too distant future. Thank you for the super chat, though. I've been waffling about the getting play started videos, because the last one nobody really watched the last one, which made me very sad, because that was I like that one a lot. I was very proud of that one. I actually like redid it a bunch of different times. All right. So we're talking about the Fenrisian Wolves. The nice thing about these guys is that they get the OC bonus. They start OC 0, and they get +1 OC near a Space Wolves character, which can be Bjorn. So all you have to do is have Bjorn stage in the middle of the table, which is really easy, because that's usually where he is anyway. He's basically behind a building looking at the middle objective and just daring anyone to come into it, and then generating command points passively. The Fenrisian wolves can string to him from basically any midboard objective on most setups in order to do actions and hold the objective. And then they have a reactive move. So if they, for example, sit next to a building on an objective, they chain to Bjorn, and then anything moves to the objective, they just hide and they get to do it again every turn. So as a utility unit, they're actually really, really strong. The downside is it requires the setup of a character to allow them to perform utility actions and stuff. But having a 40-point unit in Space Marines, is this the cheapest unit in Space Marines, chat? I think it's probably got to be, right? I think that the Blade Guard Ancient is 45, and I think that's the only cheaper actual Space Marine units, if I remember correctly. Otherwise, you can take a Midastorm Priest, who's one model for 30. And I think that's it. But he's only one model, and he's not Astartes keyworded, so you can't do anything with him. And he doesn't have a baked-in reactive move. Whereas the Fenrisian Wolves do. They're so good. I imagine that those were probably responsible for a lot of generated points. They're also just like super cheap, and they're big because they're 40 mil base, and so you can like string them pretty far. And so you can like moonblock with them. I don't know. It's just it's a super good unit. 120 points for 3 of them. Seems like a steal. We have a scout squad, Thunderwolf cavalry squad, just the one for Stormlance task force. So that's the only thing we can give Lance to. Wolfguard head takers. That's for the Wolf Priest to join into. Classic little units with the paired mastercrafted power weapons. So we hit super hard with them. 15 Wolfguard Terminators, 1 unit with Logan, 1 unit with Adrax. To hop in and beat people up. The nice thing there is that you can just constantly, you can put the Adrax in the 10-man and then just constantly recycle charge into something so he can keep fighting first into it. Because the downside is if he gets stuck in combat too far, he'll eventually get attrition down, and the Wolfguard Terminators they don't kill things quickly, but Adrax does. So all you need to do is just keep being able to fight first with Adrax by charging people. And then we have 2 units of Wolfen and a Calidus Assassin. That's pretty normal stuff. I like the Fenrisian Wolves, though. We don't see them very often, but every time I see someone play a bunch of them, I always hear somebody complain about how good they are, which I think is a pretty strong indication that they should probably see more play, just as utility, just to run up and score some frickin' points, dude. So there you go. So somebody asked for genestealer cults. There was an X1 at Texas Open genestealer cults playing Biosanctic Broodsurge. That is Peyton Beard with the old Biosanctic. We've got an Abominant with Predatory Instincts, an Abominant with Regeneration, and then a regular Abominant. We have Biophagus ×2, Patriarch with Biomorph Adaptation for extra strength and damage, double Reductus Saboteur for some utility, 1 Handflamer Acolyte Hybrid Unit, 1 Auto Pistol Acolyte Hybrid Unit for command points on the backline, Goliath Truck to carry him around, Aberrants ×3, Achilles Ridge Runners ×2 just for crossfire. We have Hybrid Metamorphs ×2 for the Biophagus to jump into. Bunch of early game push from the Genestealers. Big thing here is that the classic is that you can do weird combat stuff with the Patriarch because he's 5 attacks and I think he's like 8/3/3 or something with the Biomorph adaptation, Devastating Wounds Twin Linked, and then or 6 attacks with the detachment ability because they get +1 attack on the charge, and then you have a stratagem in the detachment for 6-inch pylon consolidate. So you can with 10 models, you can do weird slingshot maneuvers and get him into something, and you can 2-for-1 the Genestealer unit. That always basically happens every time I've ever seen this army get played. Is that the 10-man Pure Strain Genestealer slingshot the Patriarch into something really important and it dies. Yeah, but otherwise, I think we've seen this list a bunch of times. It's basically the Biosanctic Broodsurge list, but it charges really good and it engages really good and it hits really hard. So what more could you ask for? And it went X and 1, which is what you like to see. It's pretty good. Do Fenrisian Wolves get battle line keyword? So Fenrisian Wolves are a separate data sheet from head takers. They are not hunting wolves. It's important to note. They're actually distinctly different. Hunting wolves are the same top-line profile, but don't have a reactive move. They would not gain battle line keyword if they were in an attached unit, because I believe they split before that. They at no point have a battle line model in their unit. The thing is that the way that Bastion Task Force works, to answer the question, is that the enhancement to gain battle line affects only the character. It's just that most of the benefits you get from it key off battle line units. So the character's the only actual model in that whole group that has battle line. So the group that he's in, the head takers with him, are a battle line unit because they have a battle line model. But any splits off that don't, right? Because there's no battle line model there. So you don't get any benefit from hunting wolves. But those are important to note. A very different unit from Fenrisian wolves. They don't have a reactive move. If you see somebody who has hunting wolves, reactive move, their hunting wolves, they are cheating. Call them out for being a skullduggerous person. Also, I just realized that this Genestealer Cult player has a 41-point win, and his only loss is 86 points. What? What are these scores? That's insane. Winning with 41 points is like a skill, actually. Yeah. Cursed Legion is balanced to the bone that it doesn't have a Catan in it. Yeah, I think that's probably the case for Necrons in general. I don't think anyone's saying that, like, anyone in their right mind believes that Necrons as a faction are too strong. But I think it's pretty clear that Catan shards are above the curve. It remains to be seen, like, how far they are above the curve. Because I still think, like, Space Marines being good is probably kind of not great for them. Because you're like, look at me, my army is like 5 models. A Space Marine army is like, okay, I oath 2 of them. Get absolutely fucked. Oh, I -1 damage? That's too bad. My Vindicator 2-shots you, so that's fun. So I don't know. I don't know, chat. We'll see how it goes. I want to talk about Grey Knights for a second here as well. So moving over to the Palm Springs Open, Donovan Sayo went 6-2 in top bracket with Banishers. So this is the detachment where you can Dark Pact in melee with your Grey Knight guys. The downside is that you don't get you can't do it in range with ranged attacks, but you also don't take damage if you fail leadership chest. I guess you lose the ability if you fail leadership chest too. So it is actually like worse than Dark Pacts, but it is different. I don't know. But you do have Advance and Charge with Celerity, which is very exciting. And you have Shadow of Anarch, so you can run away. So you can push really aggressively forward with fast units. So you drop in, Rapid Ingress, Advance and Charge, hit your opponent. They move to attack you. You drop away, Rapid Ingress again, Cycle Charge. That's the idea anyway. So it gives you incredible amounts of board control because your opponent constantly has to play around this stratagem. Probably top 5 stratagems of the game, if I had to guess, chat. I don't think that's particularly like controversial either. It's the downside is that it's just in this like weird detachment in this one faction that doesn't see a ton of play. But like this is on the level of like, Arbor of Contempt, I think, to be honest. So that'd be an interesting tier list to do. I think we've talked about that before. We should do a tier list on best stratagems in all of 40k, and Shadow of the Anarch is definitely on the list for sure. Rapid Ingress is in there. Command Reroll's in there. Take from the core rulebook. And then there's like a bunch of weird ones. I had a good one, but I lost it. Probably Unshrouded Truth. We just talked about it earlier. Just being able to redeploy in your own movement phase, crazy. It's actually insane. But it's only on weird, like little side detachments that get one weird, cool thing. We've Castellan Crow is the only character. 1 strike squad. A Rhino for utility. Nice thing is that we can put the interceptors in the Rhino because they don't technically have jump packs, so they can go inside the little transports, and then we can disembark, advance and charge, run up the table, or we can shoot and scoot, kill a unit, run back into the Rhino because we are rocking side cannons, so we do actually have shooting attacks in these guys. We have a oh shit. I didn't realize this, chat, when I looked at this list. There's 3 land raiders here. What? Is there? There's no synergy here, right? We're just using them to deliver melee. You can like reflect mortal wounds on people, I guess. Yeah. They're not psychers, so they can't do any of this stuff. Yeah. They don't have any strats besides. Oh no, this is also psychers. Yeah, they don't have any strats. They can, however, Dark Pact for sustained hits in melee. So let's go. That's actually insane. The Land Raiders spam Grey Knights. I guess the other thing is that we can Shadow of the Anarch to react to move into the Land Raiders. That's probably very valuable. So we can shoot and scoot the Interceptor squads in and out of Land Raiders. So we can also react to move into them as well. We have a Purgation squad with Incinerators. Cool. This list gets better and better. We have a Purgation squad with Incinerators, which is kind of cool because you can incinerate people and then slow them down, right? So they can't get close to you. You get -2 to move, -2 to charge, which means you're required to move forward to engage. And if you do that, then like you can't make a charge into the Purgation squad if they teleport to 12 inches of you and shoot you with a gun. However, you're -2 to charge. So that charge is impossible. It's declarable, but it's impossible to make unless you have a charge bonus or you move forward. If you move forward, they Shadow the Anarch away. This is sick. They could also, if you have an infinite number of command points, they could overwatch you at the start of the move and then run away at the end of the move. Incredibly, that's cool as fuck. I didn't realize that. And then we have a Purifier squad. Plus Calidus Assassin and a Calexis Assassin. I guess we could also use them to like shoot out the top of the Rhino, maybe too, because it's firing deck. I don't know. It does feel like we have a lot of transports and not that many units. There's a 10-man Purifier with silencers, a 5-man Purgation, a 5-man Strike, and then 2 Interceptors. I guess we can put the 3 big 10-mans in the Land Raiders, and then we can obsec with the Strikes, and then just dump them in the Rhino turn 1 and run the Rhino forward for utility later. It's a lot of onboard threat for a Grey Knights army, but because we can advance and charge, plus the disembarkation from a vehicle, they actually threat pretty far, and you have good shooting, which a lot of people aren't ready for from Grey Knights. I've found that people are ready for the deep strikes from Grey Knights. They're not ready for Grey Knights to just engage with them in the shooting battle. Which is kind of cool. This is... can't believe this says 3 Land Raiders. That's incredible. I love it, chat. I absolutely love it. Did I see the WTC ruling where they have sticky keywords on Guardian units in Guardian Battle Host? Lets you res the Guardians even if there's only Warlocks left in the unit. Yeah, I think we had a discussion about that. I think that ruling does kind of make sense because the Warlocks are part of the Guardian unit, and to my knowledge, the Guardian keywords aren't like bifurcated per model. So like the Warlocks basically should the Warlocks, like in theory, you could interpret it as that they adopt all the keywords of the unit they join because they are part of that unit, right? It's not like an attached unit that splits into a second one. So I get it. I would have to dig into the rules like explicitly if I were to try to like piece my way around to that ruling in a different way. Mr. Land would be proud. They're named after a guy, Chan. You'd think it would be named after what they do. They raid land, but no, it's a guy. It's a guy's name. Crazy. Warhammer 40k lore is insane. All right, chat. Anything else you want to take a peek at? I think we have talked about a lot of the crazy lists. Is it worth talking about the Denver City Fight Club? This was almost a major level event, 6 rounds. Ended up with it was won by Tau. but I didn't get to talk about the list because I talked about the Tau list. So 2 of like the 3 biggest events of the weekend were run by Tau. Tau Stonk's crazy right now. 2 of the 3 biggest events of the weekend were run by Tau, and I didn't get to talk about this Tau list. I think it's mostly the same. Oh, it's a little different. All right. So it's a Montclair list. So Genestealer won Palm Springs Open with Tau. And then Denver Fight Club, which is 90 players, John Kill Commons. And this one was streamed by Wargames Live, by the way. So this one, there is coverage here. Won this one undefeated and a crazy record. Well, it's good. He started strong, and then his other wins were pretty solid. But 6-0 with Tau, 1 on tiebreakers. With 1 ethereal with coordinated exploitation. So that's where you choose an objective, and then your units gain. I'm gonna double check myself on here. No. That's I'm thinking of strategic conqueror. Coordinate exploitation is when you observe the unit. If you're in a unit, when you observe the unit that you are observing for, gains sustained hits. And then I think the usual combo here is we put him in the strike team and we just use them as an observer because they have marker-like keywords, so they can advance and spot for people. Then we can grant the breacher team lethal plus sustain in the early game, which is sometimes a little bit rough to do because the breachers they usually want sustained hits from Kauyon because that like they already have wound rerolls. So getting lethal hits is good because they're strength 6, which is fine, but it's not crazy. However, once they get sustained hits, because each of their attacks against most like medium, like light targets, T4, T5 targets are very valuable. The sustained hits goes way farther than lethal hits. So you're way more excited about getting sustained hits here. So the coordinate exploitation combo on this thing goes crazy. Plus we can, if we go to our little view here, we can focus fire to give them bonus AP as well. So you can push them up to, I think they started AP2. You can push them to AP3, ignore cover. Excuse me, AP1. So we can push them to AP2, ignore cover, with 30 lethal sustain shots hitting on 2s, sometimes ruling 1s, but not if they sustain. We have a Ghost Scale Battlesuit, double Hambler Head gunships with ion cannons, so we get the lethal hits early. Pathfinder teams times 2. One of them has a recon drone, so they're going to infiltrate. One of them has a grav inhibitor, so they're going to go in the second Devilfish. So we'll have a scouting Devilfish from the Pathfinders that we can advance, auto 6 advance, disembark, do stuff with them. And then we have a non-scouting one with the Breacher team that we can use to deliver the Breacher team later if we want to. Then we have 1 Piranha, 3 Riptide Battlesuits, all of those with ion cannons, 2 stealth battlesuit teams, and a Vespid Stingwing unit. So a lot of the core is the same, like, the Riptide Battlesuits and stuff, but as Glenister's army, but the character's different, importantly. We're running the Ethereal rather than Shady Lady, Commander Shadow Sun, and we do have the School Little Breacher combo, which is sweet. In place of 1 Piranha, I think, is what we swapped for that, because he was running 2. Cool. Good stuff. Glad we got to talk about that list. Somebody was asking about Black Templars. I think there was a Palm Springs Open Black Templars list at the top cut in top 16. Yes. It is Celeste Lorsch is back with Gladius Task Force. We got Capstellan Grimialdis on our Vehement Emperor's Champion to blow people up with a sword. 1 Judiciaire, combo weapon lieutenant with Artificer armor, so he's hard to kill. We have a Crusader squad times 3. So these are 20s, 60 Crusaders, an Intercessor squad, 2 Repulsor Executioners, a Scout squad. That's very simple. Fair enough. That's a very straightforward list, chat. So we have Grimaldus on one of them, so we can blast people with mortal wounds. Emperor's Champion, I guess just goes in one of them to give them the extra charge bonus. And then the Judiciaire goes in the third one, so when we engage, then we get a fights first. You can also heroically intervene with them. So if you like, you can set up weird situations where you can like trigger reactive moves into heroic interventions with this guy, and then fight first with the huge brick of guys with +1 to wound, and they go insane. Potentially even +2 to wound. Ooh, crazy. That's cool. That's a lot of Crusaders. I don't know if I like that. The interesting thing about Crusaders that, and it's true for any of these units, but I think Crusaders especially, because they do have like Space Marine levels of like weird survivability tech, is that the Blood Surge movement's really, really annoying to deal with. Because you have to like multi-activate into them. And so there's so little in the game because you have access to Fight on Death really easily, right? With 2CP. There's very little in the game that like engages into either just your unit or oh, excuse me, this is Grimaldus, not Helbrecht. In my head, that was Helbrecht, so that's Grimaldus. But he can make you either faster or harder to kill, so I guess it's sort of similar. But there's very little that wants to engage one of these things. You have to be able to like shoot them and then also charge them, but you can't get close enough to shoot them. Because if they engage your unit that would be charging, then it's like game over. So like dealing with these units in a reasonable way is like super tough. I don't know. There's like play around getting engaged by Blood Surge. However, Blood Surge makes you play in a way that is so deleterious to your position that it's usually beneficial for the Crusaders anyway. It's basically like this weird convoluted like a survivability buff because you have to contort yourself into a little ball to not get killed by it. Anyway, chat, is the GW format devolved into 3 Land Raiders? I don't think so. It's not the only 3 Land Raider or like multi-Land Raider list that it did well, but I would even say that I think it depends on the terrain you're playing on specifically. Some terrain layouts are probably beneficial to 3 Land Raiders, but I would even say that I think it's too. In most cases, you're not gonna have a good time playing 3 Land Raiders on a lot of GW because they like on one hand they can maneuver, which is good. If you play like they're basically like somebody comes to your house if you play them on like a model, so you can't play it. You can actually maneuver them, which is good. However, you can't actually hide them. So if your opponent, if you have multiple of them, you can reserve them. To my knowledge, at least, I was like doing a lot of measuring this weekend because I recorded a whole video about playing with Land Raiders. You can reserve them, I think. I think you can. They're like 5.95 inches wide. So it depends on whether there's like a weird round measurement for strategic reserves. It's a whole thing. I believe that you can strategic reserve them though, which is helpful. But in most cases, if your opponent has Alpha Strike like potential at all, you can just kill like an Ultramarine army that just deploys in the line and is like, I'll just command point through like unbuffed Godhammer las cannons shooting at me. Then they will just kill like 1 to 2 Land Raiders in one shooting phase. And then like you're down like very expensive important models. And I think that's like a losing situation. So because they're difficult to hide, I don't know if they're like hyper efficient in the way that you kind of want them to be. But there's a rule that if you can't finish strat reserves, you set up, but can't do anything. You set up. I believe you set up on your table edge, which is really bad. It's okay for aircraft because if you have big aircraft, then they'll strategic reserve, and then they'll just move in infinite distance. But if I remember correctly, normal strategic reserves have to set up on your board edge, which sucks. I think that's in the core rules. Is that right? I'm gonna fact check myself on that real quick. It is. Well, now I can't find where the rule is, chat. I guess I suck. Is it the strat reserve rules? This is a problem with we're at the 8th edition level of 40k where everything's like 7 different documents we have to look through to find a rule. Which is why everyone's like 90% off memory. It is in the. It must be in commentary. I can't find it in the core rules. It's in there somewhere. Yeah. Yeah, I believe that I know the rule, but I want to double check that I'm not like conflating it with a different mechanic. But I believe that it has to come in off your home table edge, which means it almost always comes in off a really bad place to stand. Okay. So yeah, we found it, chat. We found it. If a model is too large to be set up within restrictions described by strategic reserves, can it still be set up on the battlefield? It is placing your battlefield edge, which means basically the back of your deployment zone. Sometimes you can get some good like things out of this. Like if you play Search and Destroy, I think your battlefield edge is like it encompasses a large portion of the area outside of your deployment zone. So that's not the end of the world, but in most cases it means the back of your deployment zone, which fucking sucks. So even if you strategic reserve and then rapid ingress, you're in such a terrible spot that you might as well have just deployed there. It's fine for aircraft to do it, but like you never want to do it with like a super heavy or something. But the weird thing is that like you set up wholly within 6 inches of the battlefield edge. The problem with this, and this was the case in 9th edition, and people really didn't like this interpretation of the rules. But as far as I know, nothing's changed. The battlefield edge is a like a 2-dimensional line, right? Or it's even 1-dimensional. It's a 1-dimensional line. So wholly within 6 inches of that means that every part of the model is within 6 inches. And if you hull measure, that includes the vertical elements of your model. So even if the model is like horizontally 6 inches wide or within 6 inches wide, if it is vertical, then you have to measure like the 6-inch diagonal to the battlefield edge, which I don't believe has ever been counter ruled. However, I don't think that a lot of events rule that way. I think they just say that if you measure 6 inches from the table edge and your model fits inside that measurement, you're good, which I think is much fairer. I mean, it's like a million times, like turns out fucking three-dimensional measurement in games like this is a travesty and really bad and stupid. But that is, I believe, technically how the rule does work. Rules is written. Yeah. So I think it comes down to like your exact, like the exact like the TO you're playing with. You're like the longest horizontal dimension of a land raider is within 6 inches, which means if you're measuring 2-dimensionally, it can be set up within 6 inches of the battlefield. But it also means that the top corner of the land raider is going to be outside 6 inches of the battlefield edge. However, the battlefield edge is a infinitely tall measurement, right? If it's a plane, if it's a vertical plane instead of a single 1-dimensional line along the edge of the mat, then you can set up there. So I don't know, man. It's dumb. It's incredibly dumb. If only they had put these models on a base or something. Could you imagine? Could you imagine if they were just on a base or just use the base for measurement? Then that'd be cool. Wouldn't that be cool and easy? And you would never have to ask any of these fucking questions, chat. Anyway, so the strategic reserving your big land raiders, mechanically questionable. Mechanically questionable. And I think that generally you don't want to do it anyway, for the most part. But yeah, I don't know. That's the thing I would be worried about is playing them and then just like deploying in the open and being killed on turn 1. But we'll see. Anyway, chat. I think that it might be time to hop off. I believe that I'm going to be going over to Twitch to go live. I think we're just going to do a little hangout today. I will be honest. I am... Heyo! Thank you for the super chat.
Edriong 6931 donated $2 through super chat. New Viper is on an oval base. Hype.
I know, the new Viper is cool. The Corsair backwards gun boy, less cool. Viper, though, looks fucking great. I love that model. People should get the benefit of the doubt because Land Raiders are cool. Yeah. Yeah, I had this whole discussion. I think I had a whole video where I made diagrams about this issue in 9th edition. Because, like, the rules were significantly less clear in 9th edition, so a lot of stuff like this came up all the fucking time. And I think we were talking about, like, Lords of Skulls, I believe. And the people were like, well, it can fit, like, I think it was, maybe it was Lords of Skulls or something. But it was like, I can fit, like, I'm 6 inches on the shortest vertical, like, horizontal distance, so I can fit wholly within 6 of the table edge. You're like, well, the table edge is an edge, which means it's one line. And a Lord of Skulls is like 8 inches tall, which means that on a vertical measurement, you are not wholly within 6. And because the game does vertically measure, which is dumb and bad, never do that, then technically you cannot strategic reserve a Lord of Skulls was the problem there. And I think the same might go for Land Raider. I don't know. Anyway, chat. So I'm going to go ahead and hop off. Thanks, everyone, for hanging out with me. I will redirect you to tomorrow's stream. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about Catan Shards. I'm going to be doing what I have been doing recently and discussing, which I think people have enjoyed. Let me know if that is the case. But I'll basically go through a bunch of data, and we'll talk about what is advantaged into Catan Shard focused Necron lists with like 2 or 3 Catan Shards in them, because I think that's going to be interesting. And I definitely think that now that we have enough data, we have, you know, a bunch of like hundreds of games from this weekend that we get to parse through. We can finally talk about that in a way that I think is interesting. Plus, I think you're probably going to see Catan Shards in the next couple of weeks in your local tournaments. So get ready for that shit, and let's kill them. Let's kill them and put them back in their little tomb graves. But otherwise, come hang out with me over on Twitch. We're going to do a little post-stream hangout over there. Yeah. Boom. There's my link. Go check out. New Vipers on an oval base. How will they have the penalties of pivot? They will... Well, they hull measured previously, so they always had to pay for pivoting. However, they will just pay 2 inches. I don't know. Like normal. Like normal units. Flagon and 5 Fire Dragons, 1 tap the Nightbringer. Yeah, the problem is just like, wait until they're like, here, you're like, here's 6 saves, and they're like, I made all of them, and you're like, ah, I see. Now I will take D3 Mortal Wounds at the end of the fight phase. Cool. Cool. All right, chat. Thanks, everyone, for hanging out with me. I'll see you in the next one. Keep it classy, folks. Let's go hang out over on Twitch and play some video games and stuff. Cheers.